Anybody got any questions?
First off, David Lovejoy with KGNC News Radio. We know there's parts of the city that are underrepresented. One of them is the North Heights area. Any candidate up there, what would you do to spur economic development, businesses? It's great that we have a lot of restaurants and funeral homes on the north side, but that's not going to employ people and raise the tax base. What are your plans to spur that economic development, especially in North Heights, Hamlet, East Ridge, San Jacinto, those areas in our town?
Are you directing that to a particular candidate or two?
Oh, the whole group. Hayden raised his hand first, go ahead.
So I'm going to refer to the Amarillo Boulevard. The reason why is because I feel like the Amarillo Boulevard is a complete thriving economy that was created by them. I don't think the city had any involvement in what happened with the Amarillo Boulevard, because by all accounts the Amarillo Boulevard should have died off after the air base closed. It shouldn't be there. And I feel like we should be rewarding those people that open restaurants down there and they're successful. Why don't we give facade grants to them instead of giving facade grants downtown? If you want to cultivate the economy, reward that self-made type of work in those historical areas. In my opinion, it's the same for North Heights, it's the same for Amarillo Boulevard. We need to reward that self-made type of culture that's not being funded by the city, and somebody needs to step in and go, we need to reward that. These people are self-made, and that's the true culture in Amarillo, and that's going to be the start of helping that economy and not just rely on them to do it just for themselves.
I've got a grand idea. Why don't we start investing the money that's taken from tax dollars over there and investing it back in their community? There is no reason for that community not be receiving benefits that it pays in for tax dollars. You know, time and time again, we've gone to the north side meetings over there, and we sit in there and we've listened to engagement, and that engagement has consisted of planning and development coming in there and saying, well, you know, we're getting ready to do you guys a favor. We're going to invest $250,000 into it from money that is approved in the bonds. Last time, they approved $121 million in bonds last time. And they're going to spend $250,000 of borrowed money on the north side. Why has that money not been invested back? That money has been used for everything else in the budget except for taking care of that area where it should have been reinvested at. You know, it's not going to be a short-term fix, but the truth of the matter is by actually applying that money back to that area of town, those forgotten areas like San Jacinto, like the bar area, like the north side, if they will go ahead and if they will apply that money back into those areas where it's supposed to be, then we wouldn't be sitting here having that discussion. No money has been spent over there in the last 60 years. And the last money that was actually spent over there about the time that the air base closed. And that was it. And once that was over, it was done. There's no excuse for it. If I am elected, which I should be elected, if I am elected, I will make sure that as part of my engagement, I will try and provide that money goes back to where it's supposed to be and not to other parts of town that already have so much. What do you think?
I want to say, first of all, that I agree with what they've said. So what they've said, but also what I would like to do with that is I want to work on continue, like he's talking about, developing the communities. Which one of the things I want to do with that is I want to take the money they're spending in the southwest of Amarillo, which is $1.6 million a year, and I want to take that and redirect it to other communities. Now, whether we rotate it with this community gets it this year, this community gets it this year, or we split it between the different communities, either way, if you split that $800,000 between two different communities, you can do a lot with that. So that's one of the things that I'd like to do. Another thing I'd like to do is we need to reduce the crime in our town. Everyone knows about the boulevard and the prostitution and everything, and we need to get that taken care of. That needs to be put in check. Because when big manufacturing companies look at a town and decide if they want to move in, one of the things they look at is crime. They look at your neighborhoods. They look at your location. Well, our location is pretty good because we've got the two highways and all that. We're at a prime location for manufacturing. But we're not getting manufacturing because we need to get the city up to par so that manufacturing companies want to be here. So we can get the the neighborhoods developed, we can keep our kids here, and we can get the manufacturing companies to come in, they have their workforce because their kids stay here. They move in here because the crime is down. And we can have good jobs that raises the income for everyone, that makes the whole town better, that brings more money in the coffers, and then we continue to develop the communities even more on top of that. So, I mean, I agree exactly with what they said, but that is also how I look at it, how we can bring in the companies and the manufacturing and the jobs and to complete the picture of what they were talking about.
I don't know if I'm supposed to ask questions, but what about banks that won't loan to businesses and individuals that want to improve the north side? What about that?
I would roll in with the last question of tax incentives. We seem to have a lot of tax incentives to give out, and I know there's money allocated for those incentives. And that's ultimately what I would suggest doing is offering these tax incentives, like Hayden said, like Mr. Warren says, is putting this money and allocating this money that we already give into our tax system for these individual businesses. And banks, to me, that's a private thing. I'm not a expert on banks. I'd have to get more information as far as banks that don't loan. But the city should be involved in incentives, again, and support in these businesses in North Heights, the Barrio, and San Jacinto that are self-made. And so we can grow employment and jobs from the bottom up.
Right. I have to second what Tom said about taking the tax dollars that are paid in, the property tax dollars, and like holding them in that area and infusing them back into that particular area of town. We already do that in other areas of town, and I think that would definitely help revitalize that section over there. We also have the AEDC, which, and we have hot tax money as well, which can be used to derive tourism. So we can build things that would, certain things, there are exceptions, but we could, use money from the AEDC, and people get grants all the time, facade grants, they get help. The primary purpose of the AEDC is to create or retain jobs. So in order to create the jobs that he was talking about over there, we have that corporation for that specific use. So I think right now a lot of that money has been directed towards downtown and other special interest type things, and I think that it needs to be even, it needs to be equal all across town and not just focused on downtown or, the select few. So I think that's the big problem right now, is that it's being directed towards that select few group of people. And so we need to be sure and make it even.
I think what we have here is, in this town and in this country to some extent, is, everyone's scared of the word socialism, but we have bad socialism. We have socialism for rich people and rugged individualism for poor people. And there's all this help that goes to, build this ballpark, pay for this hotel that no one stays in, I don't think. Why not use money to help people that need it?
Right.
You said go ahead? Okay. It's funny because through all the answers right here, you've heard the answer, okay? It takes a little bit, what Mr. Rojas said earlier when he was introducing himself, as far as the giving incentives to our local economy, our local businesses. It takes some of what Thomas said, it takes some of what Treva said, it takes some of what Claudette said, and I'm going to get us another pat on the back, because he actually hit it better than anybody. Here's the deal. I'm going to give you an example. How many of y'all know about the bowling alley out on the boulevard? Okay. How many of y'all know we got another bowling alley out on Western? Okay. Now, them two bowling alleys have been here for a long time. They've paid their taxes. They've helped our kids. Some parents have dropped their kids off there to go do something, and the kids go bowling, eat burgers, and they kind of babysit for us, and they've always been a part of our community, right? They've paid their taxes. They've never asked for anything. And what do we do? Not us. Hang on. What do they do? The city council. They go and give an abatement to some outside company called Synergy to open new bowling alleys. They give them an abatement. Okay, that means they don't pay taxes. But guess what? our Boulevard guy still has to pay his taxes, our Western guy still has to pay his taxes. And what else did we do? We just took away their customers, okay? We took away their income, and they still gotta pay their taxes. And this complete outsider, okay, is getting the incentives and the customers now. You see what I'm saying? So what we really did was we just put two people under the table, under a bus, basically. You don't wait till your engine seizes up to check the oil. But we need to check the oil when it comes to how these people are divvying out the money downtown. Because it ain't right the way it's going down. I'm just telling you that.
In a capitalist system, government shouldn't choose winners in business. It's bad socialism. Go ahead. I don't know, does anyone else want to address David's question? We're not following our rules at all here, so.
We're way off.
Sorry, I don't like rules either.